Talking about MerMay at the end of June? Absolutely. Hello, I'm Zakira and welcome back to my channel. And today I am indeed going to be chatting about my MerMay Folktale series project I did in May because I said I would, and I mean, I kinda sorta botched that project anyway, so a very tardy behind the scenes video is only fitting, am I right? But before we get into that, for the background of this video, you'll be seeing the process of this digital illustration that has nothing to do with MerMay. It's just a cartoony OOTD illustration I did, and I'll talk about it more near the end of this video. For now, let's get fishy. So going into MerMay, as some of you probably know, I had this idea to do a mini-series here on YouTube where I would paint something accompanied with an original short story. Now, I initially hoped to do at least 4 episodes so that there would be a new episode each week for the month of May, but that dream very quickly dissolved. If you guys didn't notice, there is only 2, count them 2, MerMay Folktales episodes up. And the reason is mostly just due to a lack of inspiration for writing the stories, which honestly is not surprising. I've done very similar writing projects in the past, as some of you know if you've been following my channel for a while. I did my monthly character series, and I knew good and well that the biggest struggle with writing short stories on a schedule is a lack of inspiration and time to properly flesh out an idea. But I honestly just didn't really care that much going into MerMay. I mean, I knew, and I actually mentioned it to you guys, that I was taking that project super chill, and as a matter of fact, the reason I created that project in the first place was as a substitute for doing a drawing every single day for the month, which I knew from experience would be even more of a struggle, and I didn't feel like getting all intense because I still wanted to make other videos and do other art as well, and I did not want to get burnt out. So, after writing the first story, The Smolder Festival, and I finished that video, I immediately went to work on the second story. But here's the twist. That story never made it onto YouTube. I drew inspiration for the series from the official MerMay prompt list. The first episode was based off of the first prompt, which was Celebration, and the second story was originally going to be based off of the 7th prompt, Tranquil, because 7 days, 1 week later, I wanted to do a video every week. You get it. The title of that story was called The Hole. I already had an idea for the artwork and an idea for the story, but the writing of that story was just not happening. It just wasn't flowing. I didn't have a lot of inspiration. So I looked ahead to what the 3rd episode's prompt was going to be to see if maybe I could work on that story first. The prompt for day 14 was Adrift, which, as you know, if you watch the series, ended up being the title of the 2nd and would-be final MerMay Folktale episode that I actually completed and uploaded onto YouTube. I was able to write that story a lot easier, the artwork was simpler, and after filming and editing and just putting the whole video together, the date actually worked out really well because I was able to upload that video on May 14th, the day of that prompt, Adrift. So I was like, okay. Things are still working out, you know, it didn't go according to the original plan, but maybe it's going even better than the original plan. So now that episode 2 was out, I could get back to writing The Hole, and it'll just be episode 3. I tried to continue writing it, and it still wasn't happening, so then I decided to work on the illustration. I finished the sketch for it, and then I went back to writing, and it still wasn't happening. So at that point, I was like, okay, I had been drawing pretty much every day. I was doing 2 videos a week at that time, so instead of forcing the writing of the story, maybe I just needed a break. So I decided to take a break from the MerMay Folktales series for 1 week and made peace with the idea that my planned 4-part MerMay series was probably just going to be a 3-part, which, not bad still, that's a trilogy. But during that week off from MerMay, I still ended up working on 2 videos. One was the real-time Paint With Me episode 1, and the other was the How to Make Comics video. And both of those videos took a lot of extra time to put together and edit, especially the comics video, because I had to illustrate the page, and then I had to put a lot of thought into how to break down the information in the video, and then the editing was kind of fancy, so by the time I finished the Draw With Me video and the comic creation video, whoa, another week had passed. But I was still like, hey, I still got time, man. The whole was already half written, the illustration was already sketched out, I just needed to finish it. But, lo and behold, another video came into play, which I have actually not posted yet. It will be coming out pretty soon. But spoiler, that video is a product review, and it was kind of time sensitive. The reason behind that will be clear once the video comes out. So anywho, I needed to film that video at that time. And another spoiler, the product is a traditional medium. So at that point, I had already done so much traditional artwork. The month of May was really my watercolor and ink month. And now I did yet another traditional piece of art, and I was like, dang it, I do not feel like working on that MerMay Folktale episode. And once again, the MerMay series was supposed to be fun and chill. So if it would not be fun to work on it, then I didn't want to force myself to work on it. But seeing as I still wanted to stay productive with my art, I decided to switch gears from my cute traditional work to digital portrait studies, because getting better at portraits was another New Year's resolution of mine. And during that week when I did those 2 first portrait studies, I actually also worked a little here and there on the writing for the whole. And as a matter of fact, I actually kind of finished it. There's maybe 2 sentences that would need some tweaking, but it's pretty much complete. But by that time, it was near the end of May, and I was on a roll with my portraits. I was feeling really motivated to continue practicing. So when the choice came to either finish the final MerMay Folktale illustration or draw a picture of Loki, I chose Loki. And that was the last video I made in May. And actually the last video I made until this video, but that's a different story. So yeah, that's the behind the scenes of the creation of my MerMay project, how that went down. As for the actual stories and artwork themselves, like I mentioned, I took inspiration from the prompt list. The first prompt, Celebration, is what kicked off the idea to write folktales, because the first story, the Smolder Festival, just ended up coming out very folktale-y, not even on purpose, that's just the way that it wrote itself. It didn't have any characters, it didn't have a story arc, it was really more of an informational tale about this annual merfolk festival and the lore and legends behind it. And after I wrote that story, I had the idea to keep that style of story, and thus the name MerMay Folktales. However, looking back on it, I think that was actually one of the reasons I had so much struggle with writing the stories that succeeded the first episode. I feel like it's easier, for me at least, to have a character that the story is centered around, because then you can just run with them and see who they are and what they do and what they come across. But folktales are kind of more along the lines of world building rather than storytelling. And I don't know about you, but for me, world building usually comes out of writing a story. As my characters go on their merry way, they're exploring the world, and as the writer, I'm kind of exploring the world with them, and out of that comes world building. But with the folktales, it's kind of backwards. You develop a part of the world and then turn that into a story. And that is apparently a more difficult angle for me to get inspired by. I did have a bout of inspiration for the first episode, obviously, but after that, it was kind of hard to build a world on the spot from nothing without any characters to run around with. I remember even for Adrift, the second episode, even though I mentioned earlier that I was able to write that story without too much difficulty, I still struggled a lot with it, and in the end, I kind of did have to introduce a story about a character, which was the Legend of the Adrift story that was in there, just so that I had something to make a point with. Otherwise, it was literally just a statement that young merfolk out in the deep blue live very simple and calm lives, and they're curious and daydream all the time. Yep, the end. Thanks for listening. So yeah, one thing I learned from that series was that I prefer building a world around a story and characters rather than building a world first and then carving stories out of it. If you're a writer, let me know in the comments which angle do you prefer, because I know there are a lot of writers who are the opposite. They love just building this incredibly immersive world and then finding a story somewhere in there. When it came to the artwork in this series, I don't have much to say about the first illustration. I think it came out pretty good. It was all done in watercolor, and yeah. The second illustration, on the other hand, I remember honestly hating that piece right after I made it. I really did. I remember trying out these new techniques for the clouds and for the yellow light filtering through the water, and they both went really well, and halfway through the painting I was like, man, I'm killing it. This is gonna look so good when I'm done. And then I put that shadow under the wood plank, and then I filled in the mermaid, and I messed up and I wasn't able to preserve the highlights, so it all came out really dark, and that was when my mood changed real fast. Everything felt like it was going wrong, and that tends to be the main dictating factor that makes artists hate their own work. It's literally just when things don't go the way they want them to, because we're toddlers. Doesn't matter how the end result looks, doesn't matter what everyone else sees. If it doesn't go the way you want it to go, then you're gonna have to cry about it. It's the rules of being an artist. But now that it's been over a month, I look at that piece now and I'm like, you know, it's not so bad, honestly. It's actually kind of nice. So yeah, I guess I'm kind of glad that I didn't make this video earlier like I was supposed to, because I probably would have just bashed that illustration for 5 minutes because the pain was still fresh. But now, yeah, it's not so bad. I have a good feels about the project, despite it being only 2 episodes long. And yeah, that kind of wraps up my MerMay Folktales project review. Was it a fail? I mean, wow, that's a loud car. Was it a fail? I mean, kinda, because 2 episodes is not a series. Like 4 episodes, alright, that's a proper mini-series. 3 episodes, still passing, it's a trilogy, but 2, my friend, that is a planned trilogy that didn't pull in enough buzz at the box office to get a 3rd movie. That's what it is. So I think as a series, it's a fail, but I really like the 2 episodes that I did put out, and I was really productive and upbeat during May. I made a bunch of art and videos and didn't get burnt out. So that's a win, you know, series fail, life win. That's my diagnosis. That's not the right word. Thesaurus, help me. That's my verdict or conclusion. That's what I'm doing. That's what it is. Thank you, Thesaurus. But y'all can let me know what you think in the comments, and I mean, should I finish the never seen 3rd episode, the whole? Should I do it? I don't know. I seem to struggle with completing projects that go over the original deadline. Cough, cough, the bell, cough, wheeze, hack, fall on floor, die. I really need to make more comic pages, man. But portraits, though, they're just so fun. Anyway, before we wind down this video, I guess I'll talk a little bit about this illustration you've been watching me draw. If you guys are following me on Instagram, which you totally should, then you know that I have been doing a lot of portrait studying. I was working on them pretty much every day, but I decided to take a little break from it to draw something stylized and cartoony. And like last week or 2 weeks ago now, maybe, I don't remember, I wore this outfit and I thought it was kind of cool. I was like feeling like a hippie samurai. So I was like, hey, why not do an outfit of the day drawing? And let me tell ya, snapping my fingers, those pants are like my new favorite pants. They're just so breezy and comfortable. I mean, I didn't feel like doing a detailed background, so I started just like doodling back there with white, similarly to what I do on my video thumbnails, and ended up making this very flat graphic design looking thing, and I was like, hey, that's kind of cool. I should do that more often. Gotta love when the inspiration for a new art style is laziness. But I also kind of like how it looks when you remove the background, so I don't know. You guys tell me, which do you like better, with background or without background? And that wraps up this video. Thank you so much for watching and listening and spending some of your day with me. I hope you enjoyed this video, found it insightful, interesting, or just entertaining. And if you did, please be sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Also hit that little bell so you don't miss out on upcoming videos. Hopefully, it will not be a month before the next one. If you have a moment, be sure to leave a comment down below letting me know what you think. And until next time, stay awesome, stay inspired, always. See ya! Walking